Hey, badass business owners, let's talk about those cheap customers. Why is it that so many people are so damn cheap that they don't want to spend the money on what it is that you have to offer, and they're always trying to look for the best price? Okay, wait a minute. Think about this for a minute. If you were somebody that was buying something, wouldn't you want the cheapest price as well? I think that's human nature. Now, don't be checking off now because I'm not saying what you want to hear. I think you're going to find I am saying what you want to hear because I'm going to show you why this is happening to you and how you can make more money. So hang in there with me for a second. First off, we all want a good price, especially in today's world. For example, I was talking to someone the other day and their services are not cheap to the point where it's like $5,000. Nobody's ever going to be happy when you tell them that it's something costs $5,000. The only time someone's ever going to be happy that you're telling them a $5,000 bill is when they thought in their head it was going to be 10. Of course, they're going to get excited that it's 5. Now, that doesn't mean they're not going to pay it. It doesn't mean that they're not going to still use the services because they still need what it is that you have to offer. But people always want to try to get the best price. And we forget that in a lot of other countries, people negotiate everything. It's just here that we don't do that. We set a price. But here's what you need to keep in mind. It's not about what you're priced at because way too many of you are already too cheap for what it is that you do. And really, you kind of have to look at this whole thing is, do you have customers that are always looking for the best price? And does it make sense for you to lower your prices? Well, first off, let me tell you something. The first thing you need to get into your head, this is not a race to the bottom. I say this all the time. For some reason, we think that because our competitors are priced at a certain price point, that we have to lower our prices to match theirs. No, you don't. One, you don't know their profitability. You don't know how well they're doing. You don't know how many customers they have. You don't know how many of those deals go wrong, how many headaches they have. Just use them as a benchmark. What you want to find out is, okay, they charge X, but what does the customer get? What do they do for that price? What kind of products do they use? What's the quality of what it is that they use? Because really, it's the other information that you're going to gather that's going to help you say, all right, mine's twice the price, so I have to deliver on a value that's double what it is that they have to do. I'd much rather you be focusing on how to communicate the value of what it is that you do over worrying so much that other people are cheaper than you. I'm going to give you an example. We're going to do a quick math one where I'll do the math for you and I'm going to show you how having more customers isn't necessarily always the best thing. It definitely isn't always the most profitable thing because once again, it's not a sales game. It's a profit game. First thing, like we talked about just a second ago, one is the competition. Yes, customers are cheap. Yes, they want the cheapest price. And yes, they're going to compare you to your competition. And yes, some people are going to go with that competition. And that's okay. Because if the only thing that matters to this customer is being the cheapest, then you're not their person. And you need to let them know that, saying, look, here's the value. Here's what I get. Here's what I offer. Here's what you're going to walk away with. These, what are the benefits? What are they going to gain? What's the pain points that you're going to solve? If somebody's got a leaking water heater, anybody that replaces the water heater is going to take care of the water heater. But what they care about is the rest of the experience. Okay. Is it going to be a good install? Is it going to be guaranteed? Is it going to have a warranty to it? Is it going to be cleaned up after itself? There's a lot of different pieces that go into that particular thing. Quality of the water heater, blah, 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 blah. And I'm not necessarily talking about that particular example because you can plug in anything into that. For example, I'm probably going to be looking for some pool service again, because for some reason I never can find somebody that is completely satisfying the need that I have with my pool. And trust me, I'm pretty easy when it comes to making happy because I just want you to do what it is that you do. Okay. I'm not looking for anything fancy or anything above and beyond, although that would be wonderful. Would I love to be able to pay the cheapest price to have that service? Of course I would. Who wouldn't? But I also know you get what you pay for. Now, there's some great people that are way undercharging themselves, so I would never knock them out. If they have a pricing problem, not so much that they're horrible at what it is that they do. And most new small business owners are horrible at their pricing. That's where it all starts, by the way, is it starts back in our early days of when we're pricing, and then we just never seem to be able to figure out how to get priced right in the first place. And some of you are definitely guilty of that, because if we look back at your prices, you probably found that one of the regrets that you have is that you waited so long before you adjusted your prices. And for some of you, you still haven't adjusted your prices, even though you need to do that. So once again, let's go back to the point at hand here, that you don't need to be the cheapest. You need to be able to explain what it is that people are getting. People will pay for the value that they have. If I've used this example before, when you think about all the different phones that are out there, you can buy a phone for $50 all the way up to phones that are over $1,000. And people will say they'll never pay over $100 for a phone, and other people will pay $1,000 all day long, because it's not the phone piece, because God knows the worst thing that all these phones are at is the actual phone part. It's all the other bells and whistles and things that phone can do. Some people, it's about the name brand that's on it, but for most people, it's about the functionality. And folks like myself, we live off of our phone. It's a mini computer that we carry with us at all times for business. So therefore, we cannot afford to have one of those cheap phones that will not do what it is that we need to do. For other people, they only use it for a phone and occasionally to look something up or to play a game. The $100 phone is perfectly okay for them. So where do you fall in the marketplace for what it is that you sell? By the way, when someone wants the cheapest, and I meant to cover this earlier, when someone wants the cheapest, here's the problem with that. In most cases, they're also the least satisfied customer that you have. And I will bet you a lot of you just had an aha, oh my God, praise the Lord kind of moment. How many times has the cheapest person, and you've caved and you went ahead and lowered your price, and they became the nightmare customer? They were never satisfied. It ended up costing you way more. You already gave up all your margin just to help them out and give them the cheap price. But then they either didn't pay you, they kept making you come back, they kept making you do it over and over. They became a nightmare customer. The person that's out there trying to make sure that they get the cheapest price on something aren't always the most ethical when it comes to the rest of the deal, because they're going to continue to want more and more and more, because that's how they've either accumulated their wealth. And by the way, rich people, there's some rich people that do this all of the time. So this is not just because somebody's poor and they don't have any money. I get if a single mom who's living paycheck to paycheck says, hey, is there any way that you can do it cheaper, and you want to go ahead and do that? I totally get that. That makes total sense. But what happens is sometimes there's people that they're hoarders and they hoard their money and they're not about to spend any more money. And then they're going to turn around and make you pay for it, because they're going to continue to never be satisfied. So cheap is for different reasons. So make sure you also kind of keep in mind when you are even contemplating it, are they being cheap just for the sake of being cheap, or are they being cheap because they really, honest to God, you know what, they have no money. And you know what, they're living in a rental, and their landlord won't fix something, and they've got no money, and you can tell they've got no money, and there's no food in the house, and they need you to fix a leaking faucet. Just fix the freaking faucet. It's the right thing to do, and to help them out. That's a totally different situation. So once again, the customer will also play into this piece, because a lot of cheap people you do not want to be working for. Now, here's what you really want to do is you want to find the right price to begin with, and then build your business around that. The goal isn't to be the cheapest. It isn't try to figure out what your competitors are doing and all that. Yeah, you want to take that in consideration like we talked about earlier, because it's going to give you a lot of how you're going to set yourself up for your pricing. Because when people say, well, X, Y, and Z does this way, and you're going to say, yes, you know what? And X, Y, and Z are able to do that because they don't do this, they don't do this. This is the quality of what they use and everything else. So you're not purposely throwing them under the bus, but when they get thrown into your face, and you have to explain what it is that you offer, you can use those comparisons and just stay truthful. Do not make up any lies. Don't make up anything. Don't give an opinion. Just state fact. They use this type of lumber. We use this type of lumber. They use this type of product. We use this type of product. Stick to that. So once again, figure out what the right price is by pricing correctly in the first place. Like I just did a video for new businesses that need to set their prices. And it kind of works for everybody, by the way, because once again, sales minus cost of goods minus expenses equals profits. So when you set that right price, the first thing you need to do is check it. Check it against your cost of goods and your expenses. And is there a profit attached to it? That's how you're going to set the right price. Then set how you're going to market around that. Now, tied to these cheap customers, once again, is usually because we're not priced right to begin with. And I just mentioned the fact that you need to figure out what your right price is and then kind of price around that. I want to go over something because people all the time will say, Tammy, you don't understand. If I raise my prices, I'm going to lose people. And you're probably right. You probably are going to lose people. You know who you're going to lose? The people that want the cheapest price. All right. And that's not necessary for you because there's somebody new and upcoming behind you that'll be glad to give them the lowest price. You know, if you've been in business and there's other people that do what it is that you do, you're right. There's always going to be somebody that can come in and do it cheaper. You run into this all the time with landscapers who really want to take their business to the next level. They start off really cheap and then they want to start charging more. And then they're worried about the other guy who will just show up with their mower and be cheaper. That's a different person. There's always going to be someone behind you that will do it cheaper. What you're trying to do is figure out your sweet spot. What is the pain point that you are solving and what's the right price for you to pay for it? Now, let me give you an example that has a reoccurring business model, meaning that they have customers that use them every single month. And let's just say that this business owner has gone out and created a business where they charge $50 for what it is that they do. And they have 100 customers right now that use them every single month. That means those 100 customers are paying them $50, which means they have sales coming in of $5,000. And they feel pretty good about it because at the end of the day, they do their cost of goods right, they charge for their labor hours and everything else, and they have a $10 profit for each one of those customers. Well, 100 customers times $10 profit means they have $1,000 in profit, correct? Is basically what they're taking every single month. But they also realize that they are priced wrong. They are priced incorrectly. It has nothing to do with the profit. It's the fact that, you know what, they realize when everything is said and done, they really want to build this business to $60 a month. But they know that if they raise their prices to $60, they're going to lose some customers. But because they are a badass business owner, they're going to do the math. And they're going to assume that they lose 1 out of every 5 customers. Well, your heart just sinks. If you were going to raise your prices and lose 1 out of every 5 customers, that hurts. But look what happens. So that means they're going to go down from 100 customers down to 80 customers, but at a new price of $60. So the 80 customers times the $60 means their new sales are $4,800. Well, they were $5,000, now they're $4,800. So they've lost $200 in sales. So it's not super bad, especially because they have 20 less customers. Now think about how much more time they have on their hand to grow and get even more customers, right? So now they have 80 customers at the $60 for the $4,800. But their profit changed dramatically when they did that because now they were able to offset a little bit of the costs that were coming. They knew they had to put a little bit more away for expenses, but their profit jumped from $10 up to $18. And because their profit jumped to $18 times those 80 customers, their profit jumped to $1,440. So before, at the $50 with the 100 customers, they had a profit of $1,000. But now they lost 1 out of 5 customers, but their profit went up. Their profit went up $440, almost 50% more profit because of this change, even though they lost 20 customers. That's what's amazing when you put pen to paper and you run the numbers. Now, by the way, and I didn't pre-figure out this one part, so bear with me real quick while I pull up my calculator. Let's say they get back to the 100 customers and they have that same $18 of profit. Their profit jumps up to $1,800. So they raise their price, lose 1 out of every 5. Immediately, their sales stay about the same, but their profits immediately go up. And once they take those customers they lost and they fill them back in at the new price, now they've almost doubled their profitability just by pricing correctly. Listen, folks, you don't need to be the cheapest. We have it in our head that we have to be the cheapest because that's the only way that we're going to be able to get sales. And we're all guilty of it. I'm guilty of it at different times. You know, you were probably guilty of it. Some of you are like, oh, I used to be guilty. I'm not guilty of it now. I have all the faith in the world in my prices. I'm priced right. That's a good thing. That's where we want to get your business to. You don't have to be the cheapest. This is not a race to the bottom. I do not want you to be the cheapest. And when those cheap customers come along, I want you to look at each of those customers and the request. And does it make sense? And you know what? You might find 1 out of 20 is worth doing. It could be because they've been a long time customer with you. They've referred you tons of people. By the way, if one of your best referring customers asks for a discount, give it to them. Last thing on earth you need is your referral person turning off that faucet when they give you lots of business. They're the ones you do want to take care of. I've watched business owners completely squeeze out their original customers because of their pricing changes. And it turns out those original people were referring them so much business and their referral side died off. Think of it as an advertising cost. Even if you don't want to count it as giving them a discount, it's an advertising cost. They're your advertiser. You know what? They've got a megaphone and they're telling as many people as they can. You just need to make sure that they're telling them the right price, and they need to make sure that they understand that, hey, you're still getting it for the $50. I have new pricing, so please don't talk price to anybody. You can have that dialogue with them, because what they love about you isn't your price. What they love about you is you. You are that secret sauce. You're who they love and want to have doing their whatever service you provide or product that you provide. Please don't be the cheapest. Please make sure that you price right and really look at what the right price should be and run the numbers. Look at what your new profit would be and what does your new profitability look like. In most cases, most people make more money, not just because they raise their prices, but even if they lose people, they make more money. And it frees up more time, because if you think about your problem children, they take up a lot of your time. It's more than just the hour to do whatever it is that you do for them. It's the other hour and a half that they spend taking of your time. Don't get hung up on those people that want you to be cheap. They're always going to ask. It's never going to stop. How you respond to it is what matters. How you explain your products and services to them and the benefits and why you are priced at the way you are and what pain point you're solving for them. I think that that's going to go a long way for them. I know for some of you, you just want to help everybody that you could possibly help. And I get you, especially when you are a caring individual, but you are a business owner. And as a business owner, you're going to have to make some tough calls at times. And that means saying no. And, they'll find somebody to do it cheap. Don't worry about it. They're still going to be taken care of and they're still going to be helped, because there's going to be some fool to come along and pay the crazy price that they need them to pay. So don't worry about that customer. Trust me, that customer will find somebody to do what it is that they want done really cheap. It doesn't have to be you. Let them be somebody else's problem. All right, with that, I am out of here and I will talk to you on the next episode. Bye for now. Hey, badass business owner, before you go, as you know, I'm a huge believer in you knowing your business numbers. After all, it isn't about how much you sell. It's about what you keep. And the best way to grow your profits is to start diving in and understanding those business numbers. To help you on this journey, I have created the Know Your Business Numbers course. We will walk through how to read your profit and loss statement. You'll learn the key calculations that'll help ensure that you're making a healthy profit on all of your products or services, plus a ton of other good stuff that'll help you learn how to use those business numbers to create even more sales and profits. Just check out the link below in the show notes or visit knowyourbusinessnumberscourse.com. So if you're ready to increase those profits, it's time you start diving into your business numbers.